I feel so strongly that people need to know the real Hillary Clinton and how dangerous she is in her behavior. She is not a leader. She is not a leader.
She doesn't have the temperament for the job.
She doesn't have the temperament. She didn't have the temperament to handle the social office when she was First Lady. She does not have the temperament.
She's dishonest. She's
dishonest. She habitually lies. Anybody that, you know, can separate themselves from their politics and review her behavior over the last 15 years.
You're going to be accused of this being political.
I'm sure I will be. I have been already.
And what's your answer?
It's not. It's got nothing to do with politics. There's many examples that I cite in my book where she blows up at people. Like I said, she's blown up at me before, and agents and her staff. At one time, I saw her staff so afraid to tell her about a mistake that was made. They weren't upset about the waste of the mistake, ordering the wrong invitations. They were terrified that someone was going to have to tell Hillary Clinton that there was a mistake made. I hope someday that it does make a difference. I mean, if Mrs. Clinton ends up being the President of the United States, then she's our president and she's the commander-in-chief, and it is what it is. But if she did become the president without me speaking the truth, I'm not sure I could deal with that. People need to know this is serious, and her behavior is appalling. And she's two different people.
And that was former Secret Service officer Gary Byrne last night right here on this program describing what it was like to work in the Clinton White House. Back with us for more reaction, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. He only reinforced something George Stephanopoulos said and Dee Dee Myers said, a volcanic temper, you know, to the point where she threw a vase in the residency, gave Bill a black eye, he believes, that would scream and yell and belittle and just exploded people, actually cursing out Secret Service agents, telling them to F off and go to hell, and throwing a Bible at one of them and hitting him in the head. That's what he tells in this book. And yet temperament is only measured in the media about Donald Trump. Your reaction to that?
Well, look, the fix is in. The elite media is terrified of Donald Trump. They are absolutely committed to the election of Hillary Clinton. They are willing to do things like this totally phony Washington Post poll that grossly oversampled Democrats and was clearly false, and anybody who looked at it would have known it. They have the New York Times going back to vet, Donald Trump's dating habits 25 years ago, getting it wrong, and being repudiated by the very women they interviewed. I mean, you just have to assume that you're going to get, from now to Election Day, an unendingly one-sided coverage, which does everything it can to prop up Hillary Clinton and everything it can to shrink Donald Trump. And one of the lessons of Brexit may be that, in fact, in the end, it doesn't matter. That people look past the media, draw their own conclusions, and decide that they're not going to vote. They're not going to do it again.
You bring up the New York Times issue. The media is so corrupt that you're right, that all the women that they quoted repudiated them and said that they manufactured comments that they never made, and they had just the opposite feelings of what they described. But they never interviewed Juanita Broderick or Kathleen Willey or Paula Jones or Dolly Kyle, and they all have stories to tell. Imagine if this was a book written about Donald Trump. I would imagine CBS, NBC, and ABC would cover it. So far, they have not, which doesn't surprise me. But you know it would be, front page news for weeks and weeks if it was Trump. How do you overcome that?
Look, well, you overcome it by what Donald Trump did today in Pittsburgh. I mean, you give serious, straightforward speeches that are powerful. You do what he did the other day at Turnberry in Scotland, where he was very clear, very calm, communicated key values in a very positive way. I mean, Trump's ability with social media and his ability if he stays disciplined and he stays focused and he gives speeches like this, he's going to win the election. And there's not much that Hillary can do to stop him, because in the end, it's going to come down to, and my newsletter today, which brief commercial, people can get by going to GingrichProductions.com. It's free. My newsletter today takes Italy, Austria, Iceland, Britain. In every one of those cases in the last 2 months, you had the outs defeat the ins, in some cases by enormous margins, because there's this feeling around the world that the establishment's corrupt, the establishment has failed, the establishment's not good for my future and not good for my country. And after the elites get done yelling and screaming, people are just walking over them. I mean, the top professional politician in Iceland on Sunday got 13% in the presidential race. Everybody above him was a new candidate, was a non-politician.
Some of the things you said you wanted to see out of Donald Trump, he seems to be far more disciplined, rapid response, a lot of messaging, maybe more on message and not willing to go off script so much, because that plays into the only narrative that it seems Hillary has. And she's coordinating with Obama and Democrats. The only issue they seem to want to bring up is Donald Trump and Donald Trump's personality. Well, this Secret Service officer gives a narrative about Hillary's temperament that I think the country ought to pay attention to, how ineffective she is and corrupt and dishonest on the Benghazi issue. Are you happy with the progress that he has made in terms of the way he's directing his message at the American people?
Yeah, look, I think a couple of things are really starting to work. Trump himself is becoming much more focused, much more understanding of what it means to be the nominee for president. Much bigger job than back when you were one of 17. He has gotten, I think, a great speechwriter in Stephen Miller. They are a good team. They work together really well. And Paul Manafort is doing a terrific job of building a team. This is rapidly becoming a national class operation capable of, along working with Reince Priebus at the RNC, capable of taking on Hillary in a straight-on fight. And I think that's going to come as a huge shock to the left. And
any word on where you stand? Have they been vetting you at all for any possible position?
Listen, I have been standing right here on your show week after week, and I will continue. I want you to know, Sean, that I will continue.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to answer the question, so I just did it for pure amusement and entertainment purposes only. By the way, it was fun on radio today because I had you and Patrick Kennedy on, and it's a really good cause. There's so much addiction. I mean, all these kids get started with Vicodin, Percocet, and Oxy, and then they can't afford an $80 pill, and they move to heroin at $10 a bag, and it's become a national epidemic. And you guys have actually teamed up, so I congratulate you.
Yeah, well, if you go to opioidrecovery.com, Patrick Kennedy is showing real leadership. We have a bipartisan team working on this. We think it is possible to use new modern breakthroughs with medication therapies that really help save lives. And remember that the total drug deaths annually now are greater than deaths from automobiles.
Scary.
So this is a real problem for America.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you.